The 2021 Audi A6 Allroad. And in case you were wondering, Andie and Abby are quite comfortable in here. Now, we've actually had this Allroad for about 2 weeks. We took it up to the Adirondacks for our annual fall foliage trip. And while I treated that more like a vacation and didn't really film an episode while I was up there, we definitely focused on photos and got some beautiful pictures of this vehicle. So definitely make sure you follow us on Instagram because we will be posting photos all week. So to get ready for our trip, I knew there was going to be two main challenges I had to figure out. One, how to fit 2 dogs, a bed, a crate, my stuff, my husband's stuff for the week without a roof box. And 2, figure out a safe and comfortable way to secure Abby in the car as we traveled. So when this got dropped off, the first thing I did was pop open the rear because I could not wait to see the size back here. 30 cubic feet with the seats up, 63.8 with the seats down, which is somewhat similar to the Q7 at 69.6 cubic feet. And while that is totally impossible, I was still a little worried about everything I was gonna have to fit in here. Up to the lip is about 45 inches, 43. We're gonna go with 29. I don't think the crate's gonna fit, but we'll try. Even though the measurements suggest that this crate would fit, because of the sloped roof, it just wasn't gonna work. So I knew I was gonna have to figure out a way to have the crate collapsed somewhere in this vehicle. And the rear still wasn't gonna work because there just wasn't enough room for Andie's bed. So it got me thinking, what am I gonna do? And then I thought, wait a second, this thing is so wide, I bet it will fit if I push down the 60 split. And to ensure that I would not scratch the interior, I did put the crate in this soft canvas cover. So once I figured out that this would work, I knew that if I packed efficiently, we might be packed to the ceiling, but we could make it work. Abby! So there you have it, 2 labs in the back of an A6 Allroad. My dream has been fulfilled. And in theory, yes, you could travel like this, but remember, Abby is a puppy. She's only 15 weeks old and she would end up in the driver's seat within 2 minutes. She is a little squirmy wormy. So my plan was to create a little oasis for her in that second row. And real quick, this right here, it's a doggy stroller. That's right, you heard it. We bought a dog stroller. Well, just for this trip because Abby is so small. She wasn't going to be able to keep up with our long walks. And it actually worked out really great, but I don't want it and we're not going to be using it. So if anyone out there wants it, please leave a comment down below. Let me know. It can hold up to a dog that weighs, I think, 100 pounds. So maybe if your dog is old and aging, or if your dog is young, or if you got multiple small dogs. All right, so back to that second row. So this is the area that I wanted to designate to Abby. Now again, my goal was to contain her in the space, so I needed some sort of wall system and prevent her from moving around. So I needed some sort of harness. Now real quick, Audi, they sent us the second row seat back protectors, which was extremely helpful during our trip. It's lightweight, it's easy to install. You don't have to worry about getting dirt on the seats, paw prints, all that kind of stuff. And as long as someone is sitting in the back with Abby, she actually settles really nicely on that seat. And the seat back protectors work best when the seats are up. If you go to fold one section down like I have right now, as you can see, it doesn't work out too well because there aren't zippers down the center. They also sent us their version of a travel dog harness, and I gotta say, it's very well made, very beefy. In fact, it was, I think, a little bit too heavy for little Abby, so that's why I went with something else, but definitely something that she could grow into. And real quick, the products I purchased are by Kurgo. Now, this is not a sponsored video. They don't even know that I purchased their products. They seem to have pretty good reviews. Also, they had the most variety, and they were the only company that I found that made a half seat hammock. All the other companies were the full seat, which wasn't gonna work. So that's why I went with them. I will say, however, when trying to install this, it was a hot mess. It wasn't fitting, it didn't look good. So I invented my own method. So if you're looking for a how-to installation, do not follow this video, although I do feel like my way is probably one of the better ways. The harness, on the other hand, very nicely made, and then this piece is separate. It attaches to the back, and in theory, you would clip this into the seat belt. But as you can see, I also created my own tether point and attached it above versus below. So the final product looked like this. Abby was safe and secure, the seat and door were protected, and Andie still had her rear space. And even though the car was packed and visibility wasn't the best, I never had to worry about that because the camera display in here is so wonderful. A top view system with a virtual 360 view is standard. So for example, when you're maneuvering a tight space, you can toggle around, zoom in to make sure you're not gonna hit anything. And with the dedicated camera button, you can access it so quickly. Another feature worth mentioning is the air suspension. This will lower or raise depending on which drive mode you select. Allroad provides 1.2 additional inches of ground clearance at speeds up to 21.7 miles per hour, and off-road will give you 0.6 additional inches of ground clearance at the same speed. I also found myself switching to off-road a lot on the trip as I frequently had to drive up steep hills with uneven terrain, and it drove superb, which by the way, the auto hill descent worked fantastic as well. Back to Drive Select, you also have auto, which provides the most balanced engine and chassis response, comfort, which is smoother steering, lighter throttle, standard ride height, and then dynamic, heavier steering, immediate throttle response, sporty gear changes. It's also 0.6 inches lower. And then you have individual, which you can customize. Now for this trip, especially on the highway, I mostly drove in comfort mode, and I averaged 31.5 miles per gallon, which is incredible if you think about it. The average EPA estimates, I think, a combined 22 miles per gallon, which isn't that great. So you can do way better. Plus, I wasn't even trying to drive all efficiently. No, I mean, I was really pushing it at times. In fact, like super fast, because you don't even realize how fast you're going in here. The other thing, when you fill this up, it yields, it says like 520 plus something miles. That's super exciting. You can literally drive for hours. And to give you perspective, I drove 600 miles, then I drove around town for the week, drove back home 600 miles, and then a few days around here, and I've only had to fill it up like 1.5 times. Pretty good. It also gives you economy tips. So for example, if you're driving with your air conditioning on and your windows down, it's gonna tell you, close the windows. Or let's say you're cruising and it feels like you don't have to press on the accelerator. You actually feel a little tap in the pedal with this little green icon of a shoe saying take your foot off the pedal and just kind of coast for a little bit, which I think is super cool. Honestly, there are so many wonderful features about this A6 Allroad. I could probably go on and on and on. So I narrowed it down to my top 10 in no particular order. Number 1, there is a wireless charger and wireless CarPlay. Check that out. My phone is not even hooked up, yet I see my display. I love it. 2, easy access to adjust the rear climate, just like we saw in the Q7. And although it's not physical buttons, at least you have feedback when you push, which is nice, along with rear side vents, which is totally perfect. 3, a movable armrest. My elbow says thank you. 4, left compartment, which is perfect for sunglasses. So easy to access when you're driving. 5, adaptive cruise control. The stalk right here shows you exactly what to do. You will not get confused. It takes over acceleration, braking, maintaining speed and follow distance, lane tracking over a speed range of 0 to 95 miles per hour. There's also a plethora of driver assistance features, such as traffic sign recognition, which is huge. You're not gonna miss it. Audi Presense, turn assist, intersection assist. This Allroad is literally scanning the road, the traffic, things around you. It's gonna brake for you. It's gonna alert you if there's a pedestrian present. It's gonna keep you in your lane. It's gonna do everything you want it to do. And it should, because you're paying for it. But the thing is, it really works, and that's what counts. 6, the blind spot monitor. And although it's technically part of kind of the driver assistance programs, it deserves its own special recognition because it's so big, yet it doesn't blind you, and you can see it very clearly even in the rain. 7, soft close doors. It's the type of thing, until you have it, you don't realize how good you got it, and you never want to go back. 8, smoothness. This is so smooth, so comfortable, so quiet. And you know how in some SUVs, let's say you drive over 75 miles per hour, and you can feel it. It's sometimes a little wobbly, a little unstable. Well, in here, I caught myself going over 90 miles an hour, not even realizing, thinking I was at 60. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but this is smooth. 9, the wood trim, beautiful switches, and that gear shifter, it not only looks good, but it feels delightful in your hands, all of which truly enhances that luxury experience. 10, the LED light design between the headlamps, the taillights, plus the Audi symbol on the door projector, and of course, very tasteful ambient lighting. I also want to point out these all-season cargo mats. They really helped us keep this vehicle clean during our trip. When we got back, I cleaned the whole car, but I purposely did not vacuum underneath here because I want to show you how clean it really kept the carpet. There's barely any dog hair or dirt, and I've had this for almost 2 weeks. It also comes with a cargo cover, but what's really dog friendly is this net attachment that you pull up to the ceiling to create a barrier, which is really great for a dog, especially one like Abby, who always tries to get to the front. This video may seem to be coming across very positive, as if there's nothing negative about the A6 Allroad. Are there some things that I'd like to change? Yes. For example, the trim across the front. It is shiny. It is a dust and dog hair collector. I would much prefer if it was matte or a textured material. The rear window, it's gotta be tinted or a sunshade integrated like we saw in the Q7. When you have a dog that sits in the rear, there's a lot of sun that comes in back here. Speaking of sunshades, I'd also love if they were electronic. And while the contour lines on the doors look lovely, I have to say if you glance at it at just the right angle, you might think your door is dented. When we got to our destination, I got outside, I looked at the door, I ran over. I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? I'm like, oh, nothing happened, it's just the design. And it didn't just happen once, it happened a few times. So I'm just curious if anyone else has experienced the same thing. And I would love if there was an air suspension button right here for easy lowering in the rear. Granted, Andie had no trouble jumping in and out, especially if you pull up to a curb, but thinking of a little dog like Abby or a senior dog, I'm just saying it would be nice. But all this aside, I think the A6 Allroad is pretty close to perfect. Based on the amount of utility vehicles on the road, it seems like Americans are programmed to get an SUV or a CUV when they want more space. But as I mentioned earlier, the Q7 and this is pretty similar in size. Now, yes, you do miss out on some height, but this is one vehicle that I am confident if I purchased, I would be so happy with for years. So I think there's just one thing left to do. Hey girls, is the Audi A6 Allroad lab approved? Of course it's lab approved. Abby doesn't know how to do a high five yet. Look, come here, up, up, high five. Good girl. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you find that you're tuning into our videos each week and you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. Also, big thank you to Audi. I am just beyond grateful for having this for as long as we did, and I don't want to say goodbye to this. I don't think the girls do either. We're gonna have to though, Andie. We're gonna have to say goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, where we will be posting photos of this all week, and Twitch. I will be streaming a lot more, so definitely come hang out with us. We'll see you next time. Bye!